The stars had always been kind to Jack Morrison. For 15 years, he served humanity among them. He fought battles that saved millions. He made decisions that changed the course of wars. And he never once forgot why he wore the uniform to protect those who could not protect themselves. But the stars were not kind tonight. Jack stood in the center of a cold metal room aboard the flagship Horizon's Edge. His hands were bound. His uniform had been stripped of medals and rank. Around him sat 12 officers who would decide his fate. None of them would meet his eyes. Admiral Taiho sat at the highest chair, looking down at Jack with a face carved from stone. The Admiral was a tall man with silver hair and eyes that revealed nothing. Jack had served under him for 3 years. He had trusted him once. That trust was the mistake that destroyed everything. It had started 2 months ago. Jack discovered something terrible while reviewing supply records. Weapons were missing from coalition warehouses. Not small weapons planet-killing missiles, advanced fighter ships, technology that could wipe out entire civilizations. Someone was selling them to hostile alien races. Jack investigated quietly. He trusted no one with his findings. The trail of evidence led higher and higher through the ranks. Past captains, past generals, all the way to Admiral Taiho himself. Commander Doan, the head of intelligence, was helping him. They had been partners in the crime, feeding weapons to enemies who paid well. Millions of credits flowed into hidden accounts while soldiers died in battles they should have won. Jack gathered his evidence. He prepared to present it to the coalition parliament on Earth. He thought he was being careful. He thought no one knew. He was wrong. They came for him at midnight. 30 armed soldiers broke down his door. They dragged him from his bed and threw him into a cell. Within hours, new evidence appeared, fabricated records showing that Jack Morrison was the traitor. His account suddenly held illegal money. His computer contained files he had never seen. The trial lasted 1 day. No witnesses were allowed to speak in his defense. Lieutenant Yuna, his loyal second-in-command, tried to protest. Soldiers removed her from the room. Her shouts echoed down the hallway until a door slammed shut, and there was only silence. Then came the moment that broke something inside Jack's chest. Captain Jisoo walked to the witness stand. She was beautiful even now, with her dark hair pulled back and her hands trembling slightly. Jack had loved her once. Part of him still did. They had ended things a year ago, but he never stopped caring about her. She did not look at him as she spoke. "I saw Jack Morrison meeting with alien contacts," she said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were wet. "I saw him transfer weapons data. I did not want to believe it, but I saw it with my own eyes. Lies. Every word was a lie." Jack wanted to scream. He wanted to demand she look at him and explain why she was doing this. But he said nothing. He watched her finish her testimony and walk away without once turning back. Years later, he would learn the truth. Commander Dawn had threatened her family, her elderly mother, her younger brother still in school. If she did not testify, they would die. She made an impossible choice. She saved her family and destroyed the man she once loved. But Jack did not know this then. He only knew betrayal. Admiral Taiho stood and read the verdict. Guilty of treason. Guilty of selling secrets to enemies. Guilty of causing the deaths of thousands of coalition soldiers. The punishment for such crimes is death, Taiho announced. However, death would be too kind for such a traitor. Jack Morrison will be sent to Korth 7 to serve a life sentence of hard labor. Let him die slowly, knowing that humanity remembers him only with shame. Korth 7. Even the name sent fear through the hearts of the bravest soldiers. It was a prison moon with a poisonous atmosphere. Prisoners mined toxic ore until their bodies failed. The average survival time was 3 years. No one had ever escaped. No one had ever been released. It was a death sentence dressed in different clothes. Guards dragged Jack from the courtroom. As he passed Admiral Taiho, the Admiral leaned close and whispered in his ear, "You should have minded your own business, Morrison. Now you will rot, and I will continue, as I always have. No one will remember your name in 5 years." Jack said nothing. There was nothing to say. Words would not save him. Nothing would save him now. The transport ship was small and cold. Jack was chained to a metal bench with 6 other prisoners. They were murderers, pirates, and madmen. They looked at Jack with hungry eyes. Fresh meat, their stares said. Easy prey. Jack ignored them. He stared through a small window as the ship flew away from everything he knew. He watched the flagship Horizon's edge grow smaller until it was just another dot among the stars. Somewhere on that ship, Taiho was celebrating. Dahan was counting his money. Yuna was probably locked in her quarters, crying. And Jisoo? Jack did not know what Jisoo was doing. He did not want to know. The journey to Korth 7 took 3 weeks. Jack did not speak to anyone. He barely ate. He spent every hour thinking, remembering, planning. Not planning escape, that was impossible. But planning something else. Something that had no shape yet. Something that burned in his chest like a coal that refused to die. When the ship finally descended through Korth 7's yellow clouds, Jack saw his new home. Gray mountains stretched in every direction. Factories belched black smoke into the poisonous sky. Thousands of tiny figures moved across the landscape like insects, carrying loads of ore to processing plants. The ship landed hard. Guards opened the doors and screamed at the prisoners to move. Jack stepped out into air that burned his lungs. The gravity was heavier here. Every step felt like walking through water. A guard shoved him forward. "Welcome to hell, traitor." Jack fell face first into cold mud. Laughter surrounded him. Prisoners and guards alike found joy in his suffering. The great Jack Morrison, hero of the Proxima campaign, lying in the dirt like a worm. Jack pushed himself up slowly. He wiped mud from his face and looked around at the faces watching him. Some wanted to hurt him. Some wanted to see him break. Some simply did not care. He gave them nothing. No tears. No anger. No fear. Because deep inside, past the pain and the betrayal and the burning in his lungs, Jack Morrison was not broken. He was waiting. He did not know for what. He did not know how. But he knew one thing with perfect certainty. This was not the end of his story. It was only the beginning. The first week on Korth 7 nearly killed Jack Morrison. He learned quickly that the prison had no rules except one: survive or die. Guards did not care if prisoners killed each other. Food was scarce. Water tasted like metal. The air made his chest feel like it was filled with broken glass. On his 3rd day, a group of prisoners cornered him in the mining tunnels. Their leader was a huge man with scars covering his face and murder in his eyes. "You are the famous traitor," the scarred man said. "The hero who sold his own people. I think we should show you what we do to traitors here." Jack fought back. He had been trained in combat by the best soldiers in the coalition. But he was weak from hunger and the poisonous air. There were 5 of them and only 1 of him. They beat him until he could not stand. They took his food rations and left him bleeding in the darkness of the tunnel. Jack lay there for hours, too broken to move. The cold seeped into his bones. Blood dripped from wounds on his face and arms. He thought about dying. It would be easy to close his eyes and let go. But then he thought about Admiral Taiho sitting in his comfortable chair. He thought about Dahan counting stolen money. He thought about all the soldiers who died because of their greed. And he thought about Jisoo's eyes, filled with tears she would not explain. No, he would not die here. Not like this. Not until he understood everything. Not until he made them pay. A hand touched his shoulder. Jack flinched, expecting another attack. "Easy, young man. I am not here to hurt you." The voice belonged to an old man with a thin white beard and kind eyes. He helped Jack sit up and gave him water from a small container hidden inside his clothes. "Drink slowly," the old man said. "Your body is weak." Jack drank. The water was the cleanest thing he had tasted since arriving on this terrible moon. "Who are you?" Jack asked. "My name is Hansu. I have been here for 12 years. I was a scientist once. I refused to build weapons for Admiral Taiho, so he sent me here to disappear." Jack stared at the old man. "You know Taiho?" "I know many things about many people." Hansu smiled sadly. "Including you, Jack Morrison, the hero who discovered the truth and paid the price. I have been watching you since you arrived. You have fire in your eyes. Most men lose that fire within the first month here. But not you." Hansu helped Jack to a hidden area deep in the tunnels where a small group of prisoners lived. They were not like the others, not violent criminals or madmen. They were political prisoners, sent here because they knew too much or refused to follow corrupt orders. Among them was a woman named Mightier. She was small, but her eyes were hard as stone. She had been a resistance fighter on a colony world that the Coalition abandoned to alien invaders. When she fought to save her people anyway, they called her a terrorist and sent her here. There was also Wung, a giant of a man with the mind of a child. He had killed 3 soldiers who were hurting his younger sister. The courts gave him no mercy, despite his condition. But his heart was pure, and his strength was incredible. These people became Jack's new family. Hansu taught him everything. Science, engineering, alien languages, secrets of technology that the Coalition kept hidden from ordinary people. Jack's mind, already sharp from years of military training, grew sharper still. "Knowledge is the greatest weapon," Hansu told him. "Ships can be destroyed. Armies can be defeated. But an idea, once planted, can never be killed." Mightier taught him different lessons. How to fight without honor when honor meant death. How to kill quickly and quietly. How to trust no one completely, but still work together with others. She was harsh, but she was honest. "You were a good man before," Mightier told him one night. "Good men do not survive here. You must become something harder. Something that bends but does not break." Wung taught him the simplest lesson of all, that loyalty and love could exist even in the darkest places. The giant followed Jack everywhere, protecting him with a fierce devotion that asked for nothing in return. Months passed. Jack grew stronger. The poisonous air that once burned his lungs now felt almost normal. His body adapted. His mind sharpened. He became someone new, not the idealistic soldier who believed in systems and justice, but something colder. Someone who understood that sometimes the only path to light was through darkness. After 18 months, Jack discovered something that changed everything. He was working in the deepest part of the mines, when his tool broke through a wall into empty space. Behind the wall was not rock, but metal. Strange metal that glowed with a faint blue light. Jack told no one except his small family. They spent weeks secretly exploring what they had found. It was an alien facility, buried underground for millions of years. Ancient technology beyond anything humanity had ever created. And at the center of the facility, waiting like a sleeping giant, was a ship. It was damaged. Systems were broken. But it was beautiful smooth lines of silver metal, engines that hummed with power from some unknown source. Jack did not understand how it worked, but Hansu did. The old scientist studied the alien systems with tears of wonder in his eyes. "This is beyond anything I have ever seen," Hansu whispered. "With time, I can repair it. I can make it fly again." It took another 6 months. Jack and his people worked in secret, stealing tools and supplies, hiding their activities from guards and other prisoners. Slowly, the ancient ship came back to life. During this time, Jack recruited others. Men and women who had been sent to Korth 7 for refusing to bow to corruption. Soldiers who asked too many questions. Scientists who would not compromise their principles. One by one, he found them and offered them something precious. Hope. When the ship was finally ready, 47 people stood in the hidden facility. They were thin and sick and scarred from years of suffering. But their eyes burned with the same fire that burned in Jack's heart. "We are not escaping to hide," Jack told them. "We are not running away to find peace. We are leaving this place to take back what was stolen from us. Justice, honor, our futures. The men who sent us here think we are forgotten. They think we are dead. They are wrong." He looked at each face, remembering every story, every pain, every reason they had to fight. "When we leave this moon, we will become ghosts. We will hunt the corrupt and protect the innocent. We will show the galaxy that no matter how far good people fall, they can always rise again. Are you with me?" 47 voices answered as one. The ship rose through the poisonous clouds of Korth 7. Alarms sounded across the prison, but it was too late. The guards had no ships capable of following. They could only watch as the impossible happened. The first escape in the prison's 100-year history. Jack stood at the front of the ship, looking out at the stars. Behind him, Hansu smiled. Mightier checked weapons. Wong stood guard at the door, ready to protect his family. Somewhere far away, Admiral Taiho slept peacefully, not knowing that death was coming for him. Not today. Not tomorrow. But soon, Jack Morrison was no longer a prisoner. He was something new, something dangerous, and his war had just begun. The stories began as whispers in dark corners of space stations. Traders spoke of a silver ship that appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. Pirates told tales of a fleet crewed by dead men who could not be killed. Soldiers returning from the frontier spoke the name in hushed voices, afraid that saying it too loud would summon the creature it belonged to. They called him the Revenant. 3 years had passed since the escape from Korth 7. In that time, Jack Morrison had become something more than a man. He had become a legend. His first target was a supply convoy carrying weapons to Admiral Taiho's personal fleet. Jack's stolen alien ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly in front of them. Before the convoy could send a distress signal, it was over. Jack took the weapons, freed 50 prisoners being transported to another mining colony, and disappeared into the void. The coalition reported that pirates had attacked the convoy. They did not mention Jack Morrison. They did not want anyone to know he was alive. But secrets have a way of escaping. Jack repeated the pattern again and again. He attacked corrupt supply ships. He raided hidden bases where illegal weapons were stored. He freed political prisoners and gave them a choice: join his cause or be released safely to a neutral world. Most joined. His crew grew from 47 to 100, then 200, then 500. His single alien ship was joined by captured coalition vessels, modified with technology from the ancient facility on Korth 7. Each victory brought new followers. Yumbi was one of them. Jack found her on a dying space station at the edge of known space. She had been the chief engineer there until she refused to falsify safety reports that would have killed hundreds of workers. Her punishment was exile to a station with failing life support and no rescue coming. When Jack's ship docked, she thought she was dreaming. "Why would you risk your ship to save one person?" she asked. "Because that is exactly what they want us to stop doing," Jack answered. "They want us to become like them, to see people as numbers instead of lives. The moment we start making their calculations, we have already lost." Yumbi joined his crew. Within months, she became his chief engineer. She improved their alien technology in ways even Hansu had not imagined. Their ships grew faster, stronger, more invisible to Coalition sensors. Captain Junho came next. He had been a rising star in the Coalition Navy until he received orders to fire on refugee ships fleeing a conflict zone. The refugees had no weapons. They were families, children, elderly people running from war. Junho refused the order. They stripped him of his rank and imprisoned him. But his crew of 50 loyal sailors helped him escape, stealing 3 frigates in the process. They wandered the frontier for months, surviving on hope and little else, until they heard the stories about the Revenant. Junho found Jack at a hidden base built inside an asteroid field. "I do not want revenge," Junho told him. "I want to protect people. I want to do what the Coalition was supposed to do before it became rotten." Jack looked at the tired captain with his small fleet of damaged ships and exhausted crew. "Then you have come to the right place." The most valuable recruit was Kyungho, a former intelligence officer who knew all of Admiral Taiho's secrets. He had discovered the weapons trafficking years ago and tried to report it through proper channels. His reward was a murder attempt disguised as an accident. He barely survived and spent years hiding in the shadows, gathering information, waiting for someone brave enough to use it. Kyungho gave Jack everything: patrol routes, supply schedules, the names and locations of every person involved in the conspiracy. He gave him something even more valuable: proof. Recordings, documents, financial transfers. Evidence that could bring down Admiral Taiho forever. "Why did you wait so long?" Jack asked. Kyungho smiled sadly. "Evidence means nothing without someone willing to act on it. I was waiting for you, Jack Morrison. I just did not know your name yet." Jack's fleet struck faster and harder. They attacked weapon shipments before they reached their destinations. They intercepted bribes before they reached corrupt officials. They broadcast evidence of small crimes to local populations, turning public opinion against Taiho's allies. But Jack changed too. He had killed before in battle, in self-defense, in the desperate fights for survival on Korth 7. But now killing became easier. Too easy. He looked at corrupt officers and saw only obstacles to be removed. He made decisions that cost lives and felt nothing but cold satisfaction when his enemies fell. Mightier noticed the change first. "You are becoming what you fight against," she told him one night in the quiet of his quarters. "I have seen this before. On my world. Leaders who started as heroes and became monsters. The cause stayed the same, that they forgot why it mattered." Jack did not look at her. "I am doing what must be done. That is what every tyrant says." Myra stepped closer. "The Jack Morrison who saved me from that mining tunnel, he would have hated what you were becoming. Do not let revenge eat you from inside." Jack had no answer. He was not sure she was wrong. Some nights, when he was alone, he looked at his reflection and saw a stranger looking back. A harder man. A colder man. Someone who might win the war but lose himself in the process. He pushed such thoughts away. There was no time for doubt. Not yet. Not until Taiho was finished. The Coalition finally sent a massive fleet to destroy the Revenant once and for all. Admiral Taiho himself commanded from his flagship, determined to end the ghost that haunted his empire. They tracked Jack to a remote system and surrounded him with overwhelming force. 200 ships against Jack's 30. There was no escape. No possibility of victory. Or so Taiho believed. When the Coalition fleet arrived, they found only empty space and a single message beacon floating in the darkness. Jack's voice echoed through every speaker on every ship. "Hello, Admiral. Did you think I did not know you were coming? Your intelligence officers are loyal to you, but their families are not. I know every move you make before you make it. I know about the weapons you sold. I know about the bribes you took. I know about every soldier who died because of your greed. Admiral Taiho's face turned pale. You cannot catch me, Jack continued. You cannot kill me. And soon, I will take everything from you. Your rank, your power, your legacy. I will not just destroy you, Admiral. I will make the entire galaxy watch as you fall. Sleep well. I will see you soon. The message ended. The beacon self-destructed. On the flagship's bridge, absolute silence. Then, one young officer began to laugh, a nervous, terrified sound that spoke of cracking sanity. No one stopped him. No one could. Because they all knew the truth now. The ghost was real. And it was coming for them. The first crack in Admiral Taiho's empire appeared on a quiet morning when every news channel in the Coalition received the same encrypted file. Inside was evidence of weapon sales to enemy aliens. Financial records showing billions of credits flowing into hidden accounts. Video recordings of Admiral Taiho himself negotiating prices for planet-killing missiles. The file spread across the network like fire through dry grass. Within hours, billions of people had seen the truth. Admiral Taiho denied everything. He called the evidence fake. He claimed Jack Morrison had created it using advanced technology to frame innocent people. Some believed him. Many did not. The Coalition Parliament demanded an investigation. Taiho's allies blocked it. Arguments became screaming matches. Old friendships shattered. Political alliances broke apart like ice in spring. Jack watched from the shadows, satisfied but not finished. This was only the beginning. Commander Dohan broke first. The head of intelligence had always been a coward, hiding behind power. Now that power was crumbling. Every night he dreamed of silver ships appearing outside his window. Every shadow might contain a ghost. Every message might be his last dot. He tried to run. He gathered his stolen money and prepared a ship to flee Coalition space forever. He thought no one knew his plan. Jack was waiting for him at the space dock. Dohan stumbled backward when he saw the figure standing beside his ship. Jack looked different, now thinner, harder, with eyes that had seen too much darkness. But his face was unmistakable. Going somewhere, Commander? Dohan reached for his weapon. It was not there. He looked down at his empty holster with confusion. Looking for this? Mightier stepped from the shadows, holding his pistol. Wong appeared behind him, blocking any escape. Dohan fell to his knees. Please, I will give you money. Information. Anything you want. I do not want your money. Jack crouched down to look Dawn in the eyes. I want you to understand something. Every soldier who died because you sold weapons to our enemies, I know their names. All 4,312 of them. I have memorized every name, every face, every family they left behind. Dawn began to cry. You helped destroy my life because I discovered your crimes. You threatened innocent families to make people lie for you. You slept peacefully every night while good people suffered. Jack's voice remained calm, which somehow made it more terrifying. I am not going to kill you, Commander. I am going to give you a choice. He placed a recording device on the ground between them. You can confess everything, every crime, every person involved, every secret you have kept. You will spend the rest of your life in prison, but you will live. Or you can refuse, and I will release you. But I will also release proof of what you have done to certain people, specifically to the families of soldiers who died because of your weapon sales. Dahan went pale. Those families numbered in the thousands. Many had lost sons, daughters, parents, siblings. If they knew who was responsible, what happens to me then? Dahan whispered. That depends on how fast you can run. Dahan confessed. He spoke for 6 hours, naming every person involved in the conspiracy. When he finished, he looked like a man who had already died. Coalition authorities arrested him 3 days later. He lived just long enough to testify at his trial before. A fellow prisoner ended his life in a way that was neither quick nor gentle. Jack felt nothing when he heard the news. Perhaps he should have. Perhaps the old Jack Morrison would have felt pity or regret. But that man was gone now. The next contact was unexpected. Commander Yuna now promoted despite her attempts to defend. Jack at his trial reached out through Kyung-ho's secret channels. She had spent 4 years building evidence from inside the system, protecting others who wanted to speak against corruption. They met on a neutral station in a private room, scanned for listening devices. Yuna looked older than Jack remembered. Tired, worn down by years of pretending to be loyal while secretly fighting for justice. "I never believed you were guilty," she said. "I tried to help you. They almost destroyed me for it." "I know." Jack had read the reports. Yuna had been demoted, transferred to the worst posts, given impossible assignments designed to kill her. She survived everything. "Why are you still fighting?" "Because someone has to." She pushed a data chip across the table. "This contains everything I have gathered. Names, dates, evidence. It is not enough to bring down Taiho by itself, but combined with what you have." Jack took the chip. "You are taking a great risk meeting me." The risk was staying silent all these years. Yuna stood. "End this, Jack. Not for revenge. For all the people who still believe in what the coalition is supposed to be." She left before he could respond. Jack stared at the chip for a long time before putting it in his pocket. The most difficult meeting came last. Jisoo appeared at a neutral station, asking for a private conversation. Everyone advised Jack against it. It could be a trap. She had betrayed him once already. Jack agreed to meet anyway. He needed to understand. They sat across from each other in a small room. Jisoo looked the same as he remembered, beautiful, sad, unable to meet his eyes. "I know you hate me," she said. "I do not know what I feel about you." Jack's voice was flat. "Tell me why. I deserve that much." So she told him. The threats against her mother and brother. The impossible choice between saving her family and saving the man she loved. The years of guilt that had nearly driven her to end her own life. "I am not asking for forgiveness," she finished. "I know I do not deserve it. I am only asking for a chance to help destroy the people who made me do this." Jack was silent for a long moment. He wanted to be angry. He wanted to hate her. But looking at her now, he saw only a woman who had been trapped just as he had been trapped. "If you betray me again, I will kill you myself." Jisoo finally looked up at him. Her eyes were red but steady. "I would expect nothing less." She proved her loyalty by providing codes to bypass Earth's orbital defense systems, codes that changed weekly, and would be essential for what Jack was planning. The coalition's parliament split into 2 factions. Half demanded Admiral Taiho's arrest. Half supported him, either from loyalty or from fear of what his fall might reveal about their own crimes. Soldiers refused orders. Ships defected to one side or the other. Civil war seemed inevitable. Jack gathered his commanders for a final meeting. "We cannot defeat Taiho's fleet in direct battle," he told them. "He still has too many ships, too many loyal officers. But we do not need to win a battle. We need to force humanity to choose." He revealed his plan, a strike at Earth itself. Not to destroy or conquer, but to broadcast the truth directly to the coalition parliament and every human being watching. Hansu shook his head slowly. "This is incredibly dangerous. If anything goes wrong, you could start a war that destroys everything." "The war has already started," Jack replied. "We did not begin it, but we are going to end it." He looked at each of his commanders, Mightier, Yunbi, Juno, Kyung-ho, and the others who had followed him through hell. "Tomorrow, we go home. Tomorrow, we make them face what they have done. Tomorrow, humanity decides what it wants to be." No one argued. They had followed him this far. They would follow him to the end. That night, Jack stood alone on the bridge of his ship, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, Admiral Taiho was preparing his defenses, convinced he could still win. He was wrong. The ghost was coming home. The battle for humanity's soul began near Mars. Admiral Taiho's loyal fleet won. 150 ships waited at the edge of Earth's solar system. They knew Jack was coming. They had prepared for months. Weapons were loaded. Shields were raised. Every officer knew that failure meant death. Jack's fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel directly in front of them. 30 ships against 150. The numbers were hopeless. But Jack was not trying to win this battle. All ships, engage, he ordered through the communication system. Keep them busy. Make them chase you. Do whatever it takes to hold their attention. His fleet scattered in every direction, drawing Taiho's ships into a dozen separate fights. Explosions lit up the darkness between planets. Ships burned and died on both sides. While chaos consumed the battle, Jack's original alien vessel, now enhanced beyond anything human, technology could detect slip through the chaos like a shadow through smoke. Jisu's codes worked perfectly. Earth's orbital defenses did not react as the silver ship descended through the atmosphere. Jack watched the blue and green planet grow larger through the viewing window. He had not seen Earth in nearly 5 years. Once it had been home. Now it was enemy territory. With him were his most trusted people. Mightier carried enough weapons to fight a small army. Wong stood ready to protect them with his massive body. Hansu looked frail but determined. Yumbi monitored the ship's systems. And Jisoo sat quietly in the corner, her face pale but her hands steady. They landed on the Parliament building's roof as the session was being broadcast live to every human world. Billions of people were watching the debate about Admiral Taiho's fate. They had no idea what was about to happen. Jack and his team moved through the building like ghosts. Security guards encountered them and fell unconscious. Jack had given strict orders that no innocent person would die today. This was not about revenge anymore. This was about justice. The doors to the Parliament chamber burst open. Every politician, every officer, every camera turned toward the entrance. Jack Morrison walked in, flanked by his crew. No weapons were drawn. He carried nothing but a small data chip. Admiral Taiho rose from his seat, face twisted with rage and fear. His personal guards surrounded him, weapons pointed at Jack. "Shoot him!" Taiho screamed. "He is a terrorist. Kill him now." The guards hesitated. They looked at Jack, at the cameras broadcasting to billions, at the Parliament members watching with wide eyes. "Shoot me," Jack said calmly. "Prove everything I've said about you. Show the entire galaxy what kind of man you really are. Or let me speak and face judgment honestly." Silence stretched like a held breath. Then, a familiar voice echoed through the chamber. "Stand down. All of you, stand down." Commander Yuna walked through a side entrance, followed by 50 armed soldiers loyal to her. They surrounded Taiho's guards. "You are under arrest, Admiral," Yuna announced. "By order of the Parliament's Anti-Corruption Committee. Any resistance will be considered treason." Taiho's guards slowly lowered their weapons. They were loyal, but they were not stupid. Fighting now would mean dying on live broadcast in front of the entire human race. Jack walked to the center of the chamber. Every eye followed him. Every camera captured his face older, harder, scarred by years of suffering, but unmistakably the hero they once celebrated. "My name is Jack Morrison," he began. 5 years ago, I discovered that Admiral Taiho and his allies were selling weapons to our enemies. For this crime, I was framed. I was sent to die on Korth 7. They thought they had silenced me. They were wrong. He inserted the data chip into the Parliament's display system. Screens lit up with evidence recordings, documents, financial records. The truth played out for everyone to see. Jack spoke for 30 minutes. He named every person involved. He described every crime. He showed proof of every death that resulted from the corruption. He did not raise his voice. He did not show anger. He simply laid out the facts and let them speak for themselves. When he finished, he turned to the assembled leaders. I did not come back for revenge. If I wanted Admiral Taiho dead, he would be dead. I came back because the coalition was supposed to mean something. Justice, protection, unity. We can still make those words true, but only if we choose to. Admiral Taiho finally broke. His face twisted with fury, and he pushed past his guards, pulling a hidden weapon from his uniform. You ruined everything, he screamed, aiming at Jack. Everything I built. I will not let you. Wu moved faster than anyone thought possible. The giant crossed the room in 3 steps and caught Taiho's arm, squeezing until the weapon fell from his fingers. Wu could have killed him easily. He could have crushed every bone in the Admiral's body. Instead, he simply held him still. Jack walked over and looked down at the man who had destroyed his life. You do not get to die a martyr, he said quietly. You will live. You will face trial. You will hear the verdict that your own laws demand. And then you will spend the rest of your life in a cell, knowing that everything you built is gone. You will be forgotten, Taiho. That is worse than death for a man like you. Guards took the Admiral away. His screams echoed through the halls until they faded into silence. In the months that followed, the coalition transformed. 17 high-ranking officers and politicians were convicted of corruption and treason. New elections brought new leaders. Oversight committees with real power were created. The wounds would take years to heal, but healing had begun. Jack was offered everything. Command of the entire coalition fleet. A seat on the new council. Every medal and honor imaginable. He refused all of it. I am not the right person to lead in peacetime, he told Commander Yuna when she asked why. I have become something hard and dark. Something necessary for war, but dangerous for peace. The coalition needs people who still believe purely in hope. That is no longer me. Hansu died 3 months after the trial. The old scientist passed away peacefully in his sleep, surrounded by the family he had found on Korth 7. His last words to Jack were simple. You did it, son. You stayed human. Jack was not sure that was true, but he kept the words close to his heart anyway. His crew, his family chose to stay with him. Mightier, Wu, Yunbi, Junho, Kyungho, and the others. Even Jizu, though their relationship remained complicated. Perhaps it always would be. Some wounds heal. Others only become easier to carry. They kept the alien ship. They kept their fleet of loyal vessels. The galaxy was vast, and the coalition was only one small part of it. Other worlds had their own tyrants. Other people needed help. On the day they left Earth, Jack stood on the bridge looking out at the stars. The same stars that had once abandoned him. The same stars that had watched him fall into hell and climb back out. Where to? Mightier asked, standing beside him. There is a colony on the edge of frontier space, Jack said. Reports say their government has become corrupt. People are disappearing. The coalition says it is not their problem. But it is our problem? Jack smiled, a rare expression that still looked strange on his harder face. Someone has to care. Might as well be us. Yunbi laughed from her engineering station. So, we are becoming what? Traveling heroes? Space vigilantes? We are becoming what we always were, Jack replied. People who refuse to let evil win. People who believe that falling down is not the same as staying down. The ship accelerated toward the darkness between stars. Behind them, Earth grew smaller until it was just another point of light among millions. Somewhere in the galaxy, tyrants who thought themselves untouchable began hearing new stories. Whispers of a silver ship that appeared without warning. Tales of a man who had been broken and remade into something stronger. They called him many names now. The Revenant, the Ghost, the man who returned. But to those who knew him best, he was still just Jack Morrison, a man who had learned the hardest truth of all. No matter how far you fall, you can always rise again. And those who push good people down should be very, very afraid. Because sometimes they get back up.